The millionaire humiliated the waitress. 10 years later, she speaks 5 languages and saves his son. The office door opened and Mark Sterling walked in like he owned the place. Good morning, I am Mark Sterling, and the words got stuck in his throat because the woman sitting behind the desk with a phone pressed against her ear and a tablet in her other hand was Scarlett. Scarlett Morrison. And suddenly, Mark was no longer in Boston. He was in Chicago, 10 years ago, on a rainy March night. The restaurant was almost empty, and she approached his table with a notepad and a tired smile. Good evening, my name is Scarlett, and I will be serving you today. Can I start you off with a drink? She had a sauce stain on her apron, hair escaping from her ponytail, dark circles that revealed her double shift. And even so, when she smiled, Mark felt the ground disappear. He returned to that restaurant every night for 2 weeks. In the 3rd week, he gathered the courage to ask for her number. In the 4th, he took her to dinner at a place where she did not have to work. By the 3rd month, she was sleeping at his apartment more than at her own. By the 6th month, he told her he loved her. By the 8th month, his mother found out. A waitress, Mark? A waitress? Do you want to destroy this family's name? And Mark, at 28 years old, with all the supposed courage of a Sterling, said nothing. He did not defend Scarlett. He did not stand up to his mother. He just stood there while the family lawyer drafted a letter and filled out a check. The last time he saw Scarlett, she was standing at his apartment door, holding that envelope, with tears in her eyes and a question he never answered. You are not even going to explain why. He did not explain. He closed the door. And he spent the last 10 years trying to forget the sound of that door closing. Perfect, Mr. Laurent. Scarlett's voice pulled him from the memory. She was speaking on the phone in flawless French, without even blinking at seeing him standing at the entrance. I will send the translated document tomorrow morning. My team has already finished reviewing the contract in German as well. It was a pleasure. Goodbye. She hung up, made a quick note on the tablet, and finally looked at him. Mr. Sterling, you arrived early. Please have a seat. Mark did not move, because the woman in front of him did not make sense. The Scarlett he knew wore worn-out sneakers and counted coins to pay for the subway. She lived in a one-room apartment where the heater only worked when it felt like it. She studied formal English from books borrowed from the library because she could not afford to buy her own. She cried hidden in the restaurant bathroom when customers were rude, but always returned to the floor with her smile in place. The Scarlett he knew dreamed of one day being able to travel to Europe. I wish I could hear people speaking real French, she said once, lying on his chest, tracing absent circles on his skin. Italian, too? And German. It must be magical to understand the world in other languages. He found it adorable at the time, the dreamy waitress with her impossible plans. Now she was there, speaking French as if she had been born in Paris, mentioning German translations like someone commenting on the weather. Sitting in an office in the heart of Beacon Hill, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Boston, with her name on the door, Elite Linguistic Consulting, Scarlett Morrison, founder and director. The wall behind her told a story that Mark could not process. Framed diplomas from 3 continents, Sorbonne, Cambridge, Heidelberg, Boston University, certifications in 5 different languages. Photos of her alongside ambassadors, executives from multinational corporations, figures Mark recognized from the covers of business magazines. And in the corner, discreet but impossible to ignore, a framed article from a prestigious business publication. The translator of the elite, how Scarlett Morrison became the voice of billionaires in 5 languages. Mr. Sterling, she repeated, a trace of amusement in her voice. Do you intend to stay there at the door, or would you rather sit down? Mark blinked, cleared his throat, and forced his legs to work. He walked to the indicated chair and sat down, his brain still trying to process the collision between memory and reality. I did not know, he managed to say, that it was you. Clearly. The lawyer who recommended your company said the specialist's name was Morrison. I did not make the connection. Morrison is a common last name, she replied, opening a folder as if they were discussing any trivial matter. Sterling, on the other hand, is not. I knew who was scheduling from the moment my secretary wrote down the name. Mark felt his stomach drop. You knew? For 2 weeks? Correct. And you accepted anyway? Scarlett raised her eyes from the folder. There was no anger in them, no hurt, just a calm that unsettled him more than any scream could have. Mr. Sterling, your son is 7 years old and has not spoken in 2. What happened between us a decade ago has nothing to do with a child who needs help. Or did you think I would refuse a patient out of revenge? You are not even going to explain why? Her voice on that night in Chicago echoed in Mark's head. So different from this voice now. That one was broken. This one was unshakable. I do not know what I thought, he admitted. Clearly, she said for the 3rd time, and now there was definitely a smile on her lips. But let me clarify something so we can work without misunderstandings. I do not hold resentment, Mr. Sterling. Resentment requires energy, and I learned to invest my energy in things that make me grow. Mark wanted to say something. Anything, but the words would not come, because he remembered another night, months before the end. Scarlett was sitting on his kitchen counter, studying French grammar from a worn-out library book. Why do you try so hard? He asked, finding it amusing. Because one day I am going to speak this language perfectly, Mark, and 4 more. And I am going to be someone that nobody will be able to ignore. He laughed at the time. Now she spoke 5 languages fluently and taught the American elite to do the same. Senators, presidents of multinational corporations, heirs to old fortunes. They all sat in the same chair where he was now, paying fortunes to learn from the woman he discarded for being too low class for the Sterling family. Miss Morrison, he began, I need to apologize for what happened, for the way it happened. Scarlett tilted her head slightly. Mr. Sterling, I will be honest. 10 years ago, that check and that letter destroyed me. I spent months trying to understand what I had done wrong. Why I was not enough. Mark felt each word like a weight on his chest. But then, she continued, I looked at that check and realized I had 2 options. I could tear it up and spend my life drowning in self-pity, or I could deposit it and use every cent to become exactly who I said I would be. She gestured to the office around her. I chose the second option. So no, Mr. Sterling, I do not need your apologies. You did me the biggest favor of my life. Mark swallowed hard. Favor? If you had treated me with dignity, I probably would have stayed in Chicago, waiting for you to find the courage to stand up to your mother. And that courage would never have come. We both know that. He wanted to protest. He could not, because she was right. Instead, Scarlett continued, I learned 5 languages. I studied on 3 continents. I built a company that translates billion-dollar contracts and teaches diplomats to communicate. The waiting list for my private lessons is 18 months. 18 months, Mr. Sterling. There are people offering double my rate just to skip the line. She tilted her head with an almost amused gleam in her eyes. And now, you are sitting in front of me, needing me. The universe has an interesting sense of humor, do you not think? Mark let out a humorless laugh. Interesting is a gentle way to put it. I am a gentle person, Mr. Sterling. She said it without irony, without sarcasm, like a simple fact. And that was exactly what made everything worse. Mark remembered another night, Scarlett crying in the bathroom after his mother humiliated her at a family dinner. He found her curled up on the floor, her eyes red, repeating, I tried so hard, Mark. I tried so hard to be good enough. He held her that night, told her everything would be fine. 2 weeks later, he sent the lawyer to deliver the check. Now, Scarlett said, returning her attention to the folder, can we talk about Liam? I have a conference call with an office in Tokyo in 45 minutes. Mark forced himself to change focus. Yes, Liam, of course. The reports indicate he has not spoken in 2 years, since his mother passed away, correct? Correct, my ex-wife, Caroline. It was sudden. Liam was home when it happened. Scarlett's eyes softened. I am sorry. That must have been very difficult for him. It was. He just stopped. Overnight. The doctors say there is nothing physical, that he chose to shut down, but no treatment has worked so far. How many specialists? 12. The best in the country. Scarlett nodded, making notes. When a child goes through something like this, the mind creates a protective barrier. For Liam, speaking is probably associated with pain, so he simply turned off that function. And is it possible to turn it back on? Not only possible, likely. He did not lose the ability, he just chose unconsciously not to use it. My approach is different from traditional specialists. I use languages and sounds as reconnection tools. A child's mind responds uniquely when exposed to new linguistic patterns. It is like opening a side door when the main door is locked. Mark felt something he had not felt in a long time: hope. How exactly? I create an environment where communication becomes a game, not an obligation. Songs in other languages, phonetic games. And for this, my main assistant weighs about 15 pounds and has very strong opinions about French pronunciation. Mark frowned. Your assistant weighs 15 pounds? It is a cat, a white cat named Fluffy. A cat, an extraordinary cat. He was trained to respond to commands in 3 languages. Children connect with animals in a way they cannot with adults. Fluffy breaks barriers. Mark stared at her, waiting for a laugh. It did not come. You are going to use a cat to teach my son to speak? I am going to use a cat, French songs, and all my experience with linguistic development to show your son that communication is safe. Speech will come naturally. Mark ran his hand over his face. He had just hired the woman he abandoned 10 years ago to help his son with the help of a multilingual white cat named Fluffy. His mother would have a breakdown. That was the only good news of the day. Very well, he said standing up. When do we start? Monday, 2 in the afternoon, your residence. I need a quiet space with natural light, and I need you to trust the process. The cat process. Exactly. Mark walked to the door, stopped. Why did you accept this case? You could have refused. You could have put me on your 18-month waiting list and forgotten I exist. Scarlett watched him with those eyes that seemed to see through him. Because Liam is a child who needs help. And 10 years ago, I was a young woman who also needed help and did not receive it. I do not perpetuate cycles, Mr. Sterling. I interrupt them. Mark swallowed hard. Until Monday. Until Monday. And Mr. Sterling? Try not to look scared when you meet Fluffy. Cats sense fear. There was humor in her eyes. Mark almost smiled. Almost. In the car, Gerald watched him through the rearview mirror. How did it go, sir? Mark loosened his tie. The specialist is Scarlett, Gerald. The young lady from Chicago? The very same. Except now she speaks 5 languages, teaches senators to speak Mandarin, has a waiting list of 1.5 years, and is going to help my son with a white cat that understands French. Gerald was silent. A cat, sir? A cat, named Fluffy. That speaks French? That understands French. Apparently, there is a difference. The driver started the car. Boston is proving to be interesting. Mark closed his eyes. The image of Scarlett would not leave his mind. The girl who cried in the bathroom had transformed into the most sought-after woman on the East Coast. Monday, 2 in the afternoon, and Mark Sterling was having a nervous breakdown in his own living room. Rosa, do you think I should change my shirt? The housekeeper, a 60-year-old woman who had worked for the Sterlings since before Mark learned to tie a tie, observed her employer with the patience of a saint. Mr. Mark, that is the 4th shirt in 20 minutes. But the blue one conveyed more confidence, or maybe the white one. White is neutral. Neutral is good. Sir, with all the respect you do not deserve at this moment, the young lady is coming to work with Liam, not to evaluate your wardrobe. Mark opened his mouth to respond when the doorbell rang. He froze. Rosa sighed. Do you want me to answer it, sir? No, I will answer it. I am perfectly capable of opening a door. In the last 20 minutes, you have not even been capable of choosing a shirt. Mark ignored the comment and walked to the entrance with steps that tried to look casual and failed miserably. He took a deep breath, opened the door, and completely lost the ability to form sentences. Scarlett was there, with a large bag hanging from her shoulder and an animal carrier in her hand. Inside the carrier, a white and fluffy cat observed Mark with blue eyes that seemed to be judging every choice he had ever made in his life. Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. This is Fluffy. The cat meowed. Mark could have sworn it was a meow of disapproval. He looks intelligent. He is, and he is also extremely good at identifying nervous people. Are you nervous, Mr. Sterling? No, of course not. Why would I be nervous? Fluffy meowed again. Scarlett smiled. Fluffy disagrees. She entered the mansion without waiting for an invitation, her eyes sweeping the environment with professional efficiency. Where is Liam? In his room, 2nd floor. He spends most of his time there since. Mark did not complete the sentence. He did not need to. Can you take me to him? Mark guided her upstairs, trying not to look as uncomfortable as he felt. It was strange to have Scarlett there, in that house, walking through the hallways where he lived with Caroline, where Liam had stopped speaking. Liam's bedroom door was slightly open. The boy was sitting on the floor, assembling a puzzle in absolute silence. Brown hair, big eyes, an expression that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 years. 7 years old and already knew a pain adults would never experience. Scarlett crouched down to his level, keeping enough distance not to invade his space. "Hi, Liam. My name is Scarlett, and this one here," she opened the carrier, "is Fluffy. He really wanted to meet you." The white cat exited the carrier with the dignity of a king entering his palace. He walked directly to Liam and sat beside him, observing the puzzle with apparent interest. Liam looked at the cat. The cat looked at Liam. And then, for the first time in a long time, something changed on the boy's face. It was not a smile, but it was almost. "Fluffy likes puzzles," Scarlett said softly. "But he is terrible at them. His little paws get in the way." The cat, as if he understood perfectly what she had said, tried to touch a puzzle piece and knocked it over. Liam observed the scene, and the corner of his mouth trembled. Mark, standing at the door, felt his heart tighten. "Mr. Sterling," Scarlett said without turning around, "can you give us a moment? Liam and I need to get to know each other better, and Fluffy gets shy with too many people watching." The cat, who was calmly stretching on the carpet, did not look shy at all. Mark understood the message. "Of course, I will be around if you need anything." He went downstairs feeling strangely excluded from something important. In the living room, Rosa had prepared coffee and was arranging pillows that did not need arranging. "How is it going, sir?" "She kicked me out of my own son's room. Technically, she asked for a moment of professional privacy." "It is the same thing, Rosa." "With all due respect, sir, it is not. I have worked in this house for 32 years. I have kicked you out of many rooms, and it was never with such politeness." Mark threw himself on the couch, ignoring the housekeeper's disapproving look at his posture. "Did you see how she looked at Liam? With that tenderness, that care. She still has that, Rosa, that ability to make people feel special." Rosa stopped arranging the pillows. "Mr. Mark, may I speak frankly?" "You always speak frankly, Rosa, even when I ask you not to. Miss Morrison is here to help Liam, not to resolve your regrets." Mark fell silent. Upstairs, soft sounds began to echo. A melody in French, sung in Scarlett's voice. Sweet, comforting. The kind of music that made you want to close your eyes and believe that the world could be gentle. He climbed the stairs on tiptoe, stopping in the hallway. Through the crack in the door, he saw Scarlett sitting on the floor with Liam. Fluffy was in the boy's lap, purring, and Scarlett was singing softly while showing colorful cards with images of animals. "In French, cat is chat," she said. "Can you repeat it for Fluffy? He loves it when people speak to him in French." Liam did not respond, but his fingers were stroking the cat's fur with a gentleness that Mark had not seen in months. "It is okay," Scarlett continued without pressure. "Fluffy is patient, he can wait." She picked up another card. "And this one here is a dog. In French, chien. Fluffy does not like dogs very much. He thinks they make too much noise." The cat lifted his head as if agreeing. And then it happened. Liam made a sound. It was not a word, like a contained laugh, a puff of air that escaped before he could hold it back. But it was a sound. Mark felt his eyes sting. Scarlett smiled, but did not make a big deal of it. She did not turn the moment into something bigger than it was. She simply continued showing the cards, singing her French melodies, letting Fluffy work his feline magic. When the session ended, an hour later, Scarlett came downstairs with Fluffy in the carrier and Liam beside her. The boy still was not speaking, but he was holding Scarlett's hand. Mark swallowed hard. "How did it go?" "It was a beginning," she answered. "Liam is incredible, sensitive, intelligent, observant. He just needs time and the right environment." "He held your hand." He held the hand of whoever was holding Fluffy. "Cats are excellent social intermediaries. You are downplaying what happened." Scarlett looked at him with that unshakable calm. "I am being realistic, Mr. Sterling. A good start does not mean a miraculous cure. This is going to take time, consistency, patience." She crouched down to Liam's level. "We will see each other on Wednesday, okay? And I will bring more cards. Maybe some in Italian. Fluffy has been wanting to expand his vocabulary. Liam nodded his head. He nodded. A nonverbal communication, but still a communication. Miss Morrison, Mark said when she walked toward the door. Thank you. She stopped, her hand on the doorknob. Do not thank me yet, Mr. Sterling. Thank me when Liam says his first word. And then she left, leaving Mark standing at the entrance with a strange feeling in his chest. Hope. And something more. Something he had not felt in 10 years. Rosa appeared beside him, drying her hands on her apron. Mr. Mark? Are you all right? I am going to win her back, Rosa. The housekeeper closed her eyes for a second, as if asking the heavens for patience. Sir, with all due respect. Did you see how she is with Liam? Patient, caring, present. She would be perfect for us, for this family. She is here to work, sir. For now. Rosa shook her head and went back to the kitchen, murmuring something about stubborn men and repeating the same mistakes. Upstairs, in Liam's room, a card with the image of a cat had been carefully placed on the bedside table. And for the first time in 2 years, the boy fell asleep with something like a smile. The next morning, Mark woke up with a decision made. He was going to show Scarlett that he had changed, that he could be the man she deserved. Mark Sterling had a foolproof plan: win Scarlett over through her stomach. Rosa, I need you to prepare an afternoon tea, something sophisticated, elegant, unforgettable. The housekeeper raised an eyebrow. Mr. Mark, I am a housekeeper, not a chef from a starred restaurant. But you cook wonderfully well. Those cinnamon rolls of yours? Divine. And that apple pie you make at Christmas? A work of art. Rosa crossed her arms. You are flattering me. I am being honest. You are flattering me with honesty, which is even more suspicious. Mark sighed. Rosa, I need to impress her, show that I am sophisticated, that I have good taste, that this house has charm. The house has charm, sir. You are the one who needs help. Are you going to help me or not? Rosa observed him for a long moment, with that look that seemed to scan the soul. I will prepare the afternoon tea, but not because you asked, because Liam deserves a home where people make an effort. Was that a compliment or a criticism? It was an observation. Interpret it as you wish. For the next 3 hours, the kitchen transformed into a culinary battlefield. Rosa prepared delicate sandwiches cut into perfect triangles, fresh cinnamon rolls, individual apple pies, fruits cut into artistic shapes, 3 types of natural juice. Mark watched everything with the anxiety of a student before the final exam. Do you think it is enough? Sir, there is enough food here to feed an army. But does it look nice? It is worthy of a decoration magazine. Now get out of my kitchen before I change my mind about helping you. When the doorbell rang, everything was perfectly arranged in the living room. The table set as if expecting a visit from a queen. Mark had even changed his shirt 3 times, finally opting for a light blue one that Rosa said was not horrible. He opened the door with his best smile. Scarlett was there, elegant as always, with Fluffy in the carrier. Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. Good afternoon, Miss Morrison. Please come in. We prepared an afternoon tea. I thought maybe you would like to eat something before starting the session with Liam. He gestured toward the table with the pride of a game show host revealing the grand prize. Scarlett looked at the table, at the absurd amount of food, at the sandwiches in perfect triangles, at apple pie that was still giving off a heavenly aroma, and smiled politely. How kind, Mr. Sterling, but I had a late lunch today. I am completely full. Thank you very much, really. Mark felt his smile freeze on his face. Oh, but it looks beautiful, very abundant. Yeah, it does. From the kitchen, Mark could have sworn he heard Rosa stifling a laugh. Fluffy meowed. Mark looked at the cat. He could have sworn the animal was laughing too. Can we go upstairs? Scarlett asked. I am eager to see Liam's progress. Of course. Of course. Let us go. He guided her upstairs, leaving behind the table that represented 3 hours of Rosa's work and all his hopes of appearing sophisticated. In the hallway, Scarlett stopped and turned to him. Mr. Sterling, I realize what you are trying to do. Mark swallowed hard. You do? The elaborate afternoon tea, the different shirts, the efforts to seem, she searched for the right word, impressive. And am I succeeding? You are succeeding at looking like you are trying very hard, which is touching in a way. Touching? In a slightly desperate way, yes. Mark ran his hand over his face. This is humiliating. It does not have to be. Mr. Sterling, I do not need elaborate afternoon teas or grand gestures. I am here for Liam. Only for Liam. I know. I just wanted. Wanted what? Mark took a deep breath. To show that I have changed. That I am no longer that guy who let you walk away 10 years ago without fighting. Scarlett observed him with those eyes that seemed to see beyond the surface. Do you want to know what I think about that? I do. I spent a long time trying to understand what happened in Chicago. Every conversation, every moment, every sign. And do you know what I discovered? Mark held his breath. What? That it was never about me. The problem was that you were not ready to be who you needed to be. She said it without anger, without hurt, like someone commenting on the weather. And now, he asked, I am different now. Scarlett smiled softly. Maybe you are, I hope so, for Liam's sake. But Mr. Sterling, the past is a foreign country. I do not live there anymore. Mark's heart raced. She was not angry. She did not hold a grudge. That meant something, right? So we can start over, he said. As two different people. Scarlett tilted her head. We can be cordial professionals, maybe even friends with time, but start from scratch romantically? That door closed a long time ago. Before Mark could respond, Liam appeared in the hallway. He was holding the cat card and looking at Scarlett with silent expectation. Her expression transformed instantly. Hi, Liam, you kept the card? Fluffy is going to love knowing that. The boy extended his hand. Not for the card, for her. Scarlett held his hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I brought a surprise today. She took a small musical keyboard out of her bag. We are going to discover that words can become music. The two of them entered the room, and Mark stood in the hallway, processing everything. That door closed a long time ago. But closed doors are not locked doors. He just needed to find the key. In the kitchen, Rosa was waiting for him next to the still untouched table. So, sir, was the afternoon tea a success? She had already had lunch. Rosa nodded slowly. I see. You are not going to say I told you so? I do not need to. My silence says everything. Your silence is very loud, Rosa. 32 years of practice, sir. Mark threw himself into the chair. She said the past is a foreign country. And what does that mean? That she has moved on. That there is no hurt. And you think that opens a door? I think it means there are no obstacles. Rosa began putting away the food. Or it means she simply turned the page, sir. Some stories end, and that is okay. Upstairs, the notes from the keyboard began to echo. Hesitant at first, then more confident, and along with them, Scarlett's voice singing a soft melody. That house had been silent for 2 years. Now there was music, because of her. When the session ended, Scarlett came downstairs with Liam. The boy seemed different, lighter, and then he did something unexpected. He ran to Mark and hugged him, without words, without sounds, but a hug, the first in 2 years. Mark looked at Scarlett over his son's head, his eyes stinging. She just smiled. This is just the beginning, Mr. Sterling. When Scarlett left, Rosa appeared beside him. Mr. Mark? I am going to win her back, Rosa. The housekeeper sighed. And the leftover afternoon tea? You can put it away, or eat it, or give it to the neighbors. Neighbors? You know the neighbors? No, but they are going to love your apple pie. Rosa shook her head and went back to the kitchen. But before disappearing, she said, Next time, ask if she has already had lunch before having a banquet prepared. Mark fell silent. Because she was right. And because, for the first time in years, he had felt his son's arms around him. Maybe Scarlett was right. Maybe this was just the beginning. But the beginning of what? He still did not know. Fluffy had a problem with Mark Sterling, and he made no effort to hide it. On Scarlett's 4th visit, the white cat decided that Mark's favorite couch was the perfect place to sharpen his claws. On the 5th visit, he knocked over a glass of water strategically positioned in the direction of his suit. On the 6th, he simply sat on top of the documents Mark was reading and refused to move. Your cat hates me, Mark said, watching Fluffy purr in Liam's lap as if he were the most docile animal on the planet. Fluffy does not hate anyone, Scarlett replied, arranging the colorful cards on the carpet. He just has preferences. And I am not among them. You need to earn his trust. He is a cat. How do you earn the trust of a cat? Scarlett smiled, with patience, consistency, and treats, in that order. Mark looked at Fluffy. Fluffy looked at Mark, and blinked slowly in a way that seemed to say, Good luck with that, buddy. "Mr. Sterling," Scarlett said, "would you like to participate in today's session?" Mark blinked, surprised. "Seriously?" "Liam is progressing well. I think having his father involved could help. If you want to, of course." "I want to. Definitely want to." "Great. Sit here, next to Liam." Mark knelt on the carpet, feeling strangely nervous. Liam looked at him sideways, still petting Fluffy. "Today we are going to play imitation," Scarlett explained. "I make a sound," Liam repeats, or tries to repeat, no pressure. She picked up a card with the image of a cat. "When we see Fluffy, we say, meow." Fluffy lifted his head, apparently approving. Liam did not say anything, but his lips moved slightly, almost a silent rehearsal. "Very good, Liam," Scarlett said. "Mr. Sterling, your turn. Show Liam how it is done." Mark cleared his throat. "Meow?" It came out more like a question than a meow, and it also sounded strangely similar to a duck being strangled. Fluffy stared at him with an expression that could only be described as offended. Liam covered his mouth. His shoulders shook, and then it happened. A laugh. Quiet, almost inaudible, but definitely a laugh. Mark's eyes widened. He laughed? Scarlett smiled, her eyes sparkling. "You have a natural talent for comedy, Mr. Sterling. Was my meow that bad?" "It was the worst meow I have ever heard in my life, and I have been working with children for years." Mark should have been offended, but his son had just laughed for the first time in 2 years. He could meow like a duck for the rest of his life if it made Liam happy. "Let us try another one," Scarlett said, picking up a card with a dog. "Woof, woof." Liam looked at the card, then at Fluffy, who clearly disapproved of the existence of dogs. "Your turn, Mr. Sterling." Mark took a deep breath. "Woof, woof." It came out as if he were having a coughing fit. Liam laughed again, louder this time. Fluffy got down from the boy's lap and walked over to Mark. For a moment, it looked like he was going to do something hostile. Scratch, maybe, or bite. Instead, the cat climbed onto Mark's lap and settled there, purring. Mark stayed completely still. "What is happening?" "Fluffy has decided you are acceptable," Scarlett said. "Acceptable?" "It is the highest compliment he gives. Enjoy it." Mark looked at the white cat in his lap, then at Liam, who was watching the scene with something that seemed like joy. "Can I do the next sound?" Mark asked. Scarlett nodded and showed a card with a cow. "Moo," she said. Mark looked at Liam. "Ready?" The boy nodded. Mark took a deep breath and let out the most dramatic and exaggerated moo in the history of humanity. Liam burst out laughing, a real laugh, loud and clear, that echoed through the room and made Mark's heart almost stop. Scarlett put her hand to her chest, her eyes watering. "Liam, what a beautiful laugh." The boy looked at her, then at his father, and did something no one expected. He opened his mouth. "Moo." A word, a single syllable. But it was Liam's voice, after 2 years of silence. Mark felt the tears running down before he realized he was crying. He extended his arms and Liam threw himself into them, still laughing, still repeating moo moo, as if it were the most important word in the world. Fluffy, trapped in the middle of the hug, meowed in protest but did not leave. Scarlett discreetly wiped her eyes. "I told you it was just the beginning." Mark looked at her over Liam's head. "Thank you. I do not know how to thank you." "Thank me by making more animal sounds. Apparently, you have found your calling." "I am terrible at this." "That is exactly why it works. Liam does not need perfection. He needs connection, someone willing to look foolish to make him laugh." Mark hugged his son tighter. When the session ended, Scarlett put away the materials with a smile that lit up the entire room. "That was incredible. You two were incredible." Mark got up, still holding Fluffy, who had apparently decided that he was a comfortable piece of furniture. "Can I participate in the next sessions?" "I would love that. And I am sure Liam would too." The boy nodded vigorously. Scarlett picked up the carrier. "Fluffy, time to go." The cat finally got up, but not before rubbing his head on Mark's chin. "It seems I've been promoted from acceptable to comfortable," Mark said, smiling. "Apparently, it is a rare honor." They went downstairs together, Liam holding his father's hand on one side and waving to Fluffy in the carrier on the other. It looked like a family. It felt right. Mark opened the front door for Scarlett. "Until the next session, Miss Morrison." "Until next time, Mr. Sterling." Scarlett took a step outside and froze, because standing at the entrance with her hand raised to ring the doorbell was a woman in her early 60s. Gray hair, impeccably styled, pearl necklace, The posture of someone who never needed to ask permission to enter anywhere. Susan Sterling, the family matriarch, the woman who 10 years ago looked at Scarlett and said, "A waitress, Mark? Do you want to destroy this family's name?" Susan's eyes narrowed. "You?" she said, her voice cutting like glass. Scarlett did not back down. "Mrs. Sterling." Mark felt his stomach drop. "Mother, what are you doing here?" Susan ignored her son. Her eyes remained fixed on Scarlett with an intensity that could freeze the sun. "I came to visit my grandson, and I find this person leaving your house?" "This person," Mark said, positioning himself next to Scarlett, "is the specialist who is helping Liam speak again, and her name is Miss Morrison." Susan let out a dry laugh. "Morrison, of course, the maiden name." She looked Scarlett up and down. "I see some things have changed. Others clearly have not." Scarlett smiled, a polite, unshakable smile that showed neither anger nor fear. "You are right, Mrs. Sterling. Some things really have not changed, like my ability to help people who need it. Excuse me." She passed by Susan without looking away. The matriarch stood there, open-mouthed, watching Scarlett walk to her car with the dignity of a queen. Mark observed the scene, torn between pride and panic. Susan Sterling did not leave that night, and she did not plan to stay silent either. "You have completely lost your mind," she began, pacing back and forth in the living room. "That woman, Mark. That woman in your house, near my grandson." Mark raised his hand. "Stop." Susan froze mid-step. "Excuse me? I said stop. You are not going to come into my house and dictate who can or cannot be near my son." "Mark, I am your mother. And I am 38 years old, mother. I am no longer that 28-year-old boy you manipulated 10 years ago." The silence that followed was deafening. Susan blinked, clearly not used to being contradicted. "I did not manipulate anyone. I protected this family. You made me abandon the woman I loved with a check and a lawyer's letter. That is not protection, that is cowardice. And the cowardice was mine for allowing it." She was a waitress, Mark. She was a person, an incredible person you did not even bother to get to know. And do you know what happened? She became one of the most respected professionals on the East Coast. She speaks 5 languages, she teaches diplomats and senators, and she is the only person who has managed to make my son speak in 2 years. Susan opened her mouth to respond. Mark did not let her. "So you can stay to visit Liam. You can have tea. You can even have dinner with us. But if you say a single word against Scarlett Morrison, the door is right there." Rosa, who was watching everything from the kitchen, almost dropped the tray. Susan stood there, processing what she had just heard. "You are different," she said finally. "I grew up, mother. You should try it." She left that night without having dinner, and without saying another word about Scarlett. Rosa appeared beside Mark as soon as the door closed. "Mr. Mark, that was necessary. I was going to say impressive, but necessary works too." Mark sighed. "I should have done that 10 years ago." "You should have, but you did it now. That counts for something." The next morning, Mark woke up with a strange feeling in his chest, something between relief and determination. He had stood up to his mother. He had taken a stand. He had shown he was no longer a puppet. Now he needed to show Scarlett that he had truly changed. A flower arrangement arrived at the offices of Elite Linguistic Consulting that afternoon. White lilies, elegant, discreet. The card said, "Thank you for giving my son his voice back. Mark Sterling." Professional, respectful, perfect. Rosa, when she found out, shook her head. "Flowers, sir? Original. It is a gesture of gratitude, Rosa. It is a gesture of a man in love pretending he is not in love. I am not pretending anything. Sir, I have worked here for 32 years. I know that look." The next day, Scarlett arrived for the session with Liam and casually mentioned, "The flowers are beautiful, Mr. Sterling." "Thank you. I put them in the office." Mark's heart raced. In the office. Did not throw them away. Did not return them. Put them in the office. "I am glad you liked them," he said, trying to seem casual. "Lilies are my favorite. How did you know?" Mark did not know. It had been an absurdly lucky guess. "Intuition," he replied. Rosa, who was passing through the hallway, coughed in a way that sounded suspiciously like liar. Encouraged, Mark intensified the gratitude operation. The following week, artisan Belgian chocolates appeared at Scarlett's office. Card, "To sweeten your day. MS." Scarlett thanked him politely. "Belgian chocolates. You are outdoing yourself. just gratitude for the work with Liam. Liam is the one doing the work. I just facilitate. You are modest. You are generous with gifts. There was something in her tone. It was not rejection, but it was not encouragement either. Mark decided to ignore it. Following week, gourmet basket, imported cheeses, artisan jams, fine biscuits. Card, gratitude is priceless, but these cheeses almost have a price. Scarlett laughed. You are funny, Mr. Sterling. I am trying. You are succeeding, but I need to ask, are these gifts about Liam or about something else? Mark swallowed hard. About Liam, of course. Totally about Liam. Great, because I would love to share these cheeses with my team, if you do not mind. Please go ahead. She smiled and went upstairs for the session. Mark stood there, feeling like he had missed something in that conversation. Rosa materialized beside him. She is going to share with the team, sir. I heard. The team. She is not going to keep it. She is not going to take it home. She's going to share. And that means that she is being polite but not encouraging hopes, or that she is generous. You are impossible. During the session, Mark observed Scarlett work. Infinite patience. Every progress celebrated. Every hesitation welcomed. Liam, do you want to show Daddy what we learned? She asked. The boy nodded. Card with a house. House, Liam said quietly. Card with a tree. Tree. Card with a heart. Liam looked at the card, then at his father. Daddy. Mark felt the world stop. What did you say, son? Daddy. The tears came before he could control them. He knelt down and hugged Liam. That is right, son. Daddy is here. He always will be. Scarlett watched with sparkling eyes. He associated the heart with you. That is very significant. He is reconnecting emotions to words. Mark looked at her. How do I thank you for this? There is no gift that... Mr. Sterling, she interrupted gently, the best thank you is to keep being that father. Present. Available. Willing to look foolish, making animal sounds. I am terrible at the sounds. That is why it works. Liam needs authenticity, not perfection. Mark nodded. Can I ask you something? Of course. The gifts. Did I overdo it? Scarlett smiled. You were kind. I appreciate every gesture, but I need to be clear. My work is with Liam. Only Liam. Anything else would be inappropriate. I would say complicated, but inappropriate works. He nodded, a mixture of disappointment and respect. I understand. Do you really understand? I understand that you are an incredible professional and that I need to stop sending cheeses. Scarlett laughed. The cheeses can continue. The team loved them. Just the cheeses? And the chocolates, but only because they are Belgian. When she left, Mark stood at the door, watching the car disappear. Rosa appeared. You seem thoughtful, sir. She put me in my place, in a polite, gentle, and devastating way. That is good, is it? It means she cannot be bought with flowers and cheeses. I was not trying to buy. You were trying to impress. Almost the same thing. Silence. What do I do now, Rosa? What she asked. Be a good father. Be present. Stop sending gifts. She said the cheeses can continue. Once a month, at most. In the living room, Liam was holding the card with the heart. Daddy, he said, testing the word. Mark sat beside him. I am here, son. Liam rested his head on his father's shoulder, and Mark felt that maybe this was enough. Being a father, being present, not needing to win anyone over. 4 months, 120 days. And Liam Sterling was finally ready to take the next step. He can start regular classes, Scarlett announced after the last private session. His progress has been extraordinary. Interacting with other children will accelerate his development even more. Mark felt his chest swell with pride. Regular classes? At your school? At Elite Linguistic Consulting, yes. We have a children's class on Wednesdays and Fridays. Children from 6 to 9 years old learning through games, songs, and interaction. Is he really ready? Scarlett smiled. Mr. Sterling, 4 months ago Liam did not say a single word. Yesterday he explained to me, in detail, why Fluffy deserved more treats. He is more than ready. On the first day of class, Mark made sure to accompany his son personally. Elite Linguistic Consulting occupied a historic building in Beacon Hill. Red bricks, wide windows, and an interior that looked more like a 5-star hotel than a language school. Mr. Sterling, the receptionist, greeted him. Liam is enrolled in the 2 o'clock class. The room is on the 2nd floor. Can I watch the class? Not in person, sir. Children develop better without their parents present. Less pressure. Mark felt his stomach drop. But what if he needs me? The receptionist smiled with the patience of someone who had heard that 1,000 times. We have a monitoring panel here at reception. Parents can watch the classes live through the cameras. There is no audio to preserve the children's privacy. She pointed to a large screen on the wall, divided into 4 quadrants showing different rooms. Liam's class is room 3, upper right quadrant. Mark positioned himself in front of the panel like a hawk watching its prey. Other parents occupied comfortable sofas around, most distracted with cell phones or laptops. A woman covered in jewelry complained about the incompetence of the new chef at the country club. A man in a suit closed deals by phone. Mark ignored everyone. His eyes were glued to the upper right quadrant. The room was colorful and cheerful. 8 children sat in a circle, including Liam. Scarlett was in the center, holding cards and gesturing animatedly. Mark frowned. Why was she pointing at the window? Why were the children laughing? Why was Liam raising his hand? "Sir, the coffee is complimentary," an employee offered. "I do not need coffee." "Cookies?" "I do not need cookies." "Maybe a sedative?" Mark finally looked away from the screen. "Excuse me?" The employee smiled innocently. "Just kidding, sir. The first day is always difficult for parents." She walked away before Mark could respond. On the screen, Scarlett was showing a card with an animal. The children responded something. Liam was participating. His lips were moving. Mark tried to read his son's lips. Duck? Cat? Huh? Impossible to know. He moved closer to the screen as if 2 inches would make a difference. "First day?" Mark turned around. A blonde woman was watching him with sympathy. "Is it that obvious? You are practically inside the television, so yes." She sat on the nearest sofa. "My daughter Sophie has been in the class for 6 months. Relax. Miss Morrison is incredible. I know, she worked with my son for 4 months. Oh, private sessions? Then you know her method." "I do." "And you are still glued to the panel like it is a suspense movie?" Mark sighed. "Liam went 2 years without speaking. It is hard not to worry." The woman nodded understandingly. "I understand, but trust the process. In a month, you will be like the others." She pointed to the distracted parents, pretending to work while you wait. On the screen, something happened. The children got up and started walking around the room. A game, perhaps. Liam was interacting with another boy. Mark felt his heart race. "He made a friend," he murmured. "That is great." "Or they are fighting. You cannot tell without sound." If they were fighting, Miss Morrison would not be smiling. Mark looked again. It was true. Scarlett was watching the interaction with a warm smile. He relaxed, a little. "Are you always like this?" the woman asked. "Like what?" "Intense. I prefer the term dedicated." "Of course you do." The next hour was an emotional roller coaster. Mark interpreted every gesture, every movement, every facial expression of his son through that silent screen. Liam raised his hand 3 times. Good sign. Liam laughed at something Scarlett said. Great sign. Liam looked at the camera for a second. Mark waved, even knowing his son could not see him. "You just waved at a television," the blonde woman observed. "So what?" "Nothing, just documenting it to tell at dinner." Finally, the classroom door opened and the children came out in a line. Mark practically ran to the hallway. Liam came out last, holding a drawing and with a radiant smile. "Daddy, son, how was it?" "Incredible. I made a friend. His name is Theo. We sang a song in French, and the teacher said I did very well." Sentences. Several sentences. Enthusiastic, spontaneous. Mark knelt down and hugged his son. "I am so proud of you." Scarlett appeared at the door. "Mr. Sterling, Liam was wonderful. He participated in everything and helped another child who was shy." "Really? He has a natural gift for welcoming others. I do not know where he got that from." "You underestimate yourself." To celebrate, the 3 of them went to the public garden that afternoon. Golden trees, mild sun, aristocratic swans. Fluffy observed the ducks with predatory interest. Liam pointed and named everything, in English and in French. "Canard, 1, 2, 3 canards." Mark stumbled. "He learned that today?" "In 1 hour," Scarlett smiled. "Children are sponges." They stopped under an old willow tree. Liam tugged at his father's sleeve. "Daddy?" "Yes, son?" He looked at Scarlett, then at Mark. "Daddy, Scarlett is my best friend." A complete sentence. Perfect. Mark felt the tears before he realized he was crying. Scarlett also had sparkling eyes. "Liam, you are my best friend too." The boy hugged both of them at the same time. There, under the willow, they looked like a family. Mark looked at Scarlett over Liam's head. Thank you for everything. Thank Liam, you made it possible. She looked away, but she was smiling. They bought ice cream, fed ducks. Liam ran across the grass while the adults walked side by side. Scarlett? Yes? Dinner. This week. Just the two of us, she sighed. Mark? First time she used his name. I appreciate it, but it would not be appropriate. Why? You are the father of a student. What if I took Liam out of the school? She laughed. Then you would be a man who sacrificed his son's education for a dinner. Not attractive at all. Dead end, then. A situation that requires patience. Patience for what? Scarlett did not answer. She just smiled and went after Liam. Mark watched the two of them. She was not saying no forever. She was saying not yet. And he could wait. What he did not see was the car at the park exit, nor the man who opened the door for Scarlett, nor the kiss they exchanged before getting in. How did it go? Victor asked. Perfect. Liam said his first complete sentence. And the father? Scarlett sighed. He still has not understood that some stories already have their endings written. The car drove off. Mark Sterling had never planned a dinner so much in his life, and that included the dinner where he proposed to Caroline. Rosa, which restaurant says I respect you professionally, but I would also like to explore romantic possibilities? The housekeeper stopped folding towels and stared at him. Mr. Mark, that does not exist. It needs to exist. Boston has thousands of restaurants, and none of them have that specific theme. Then what do you suggest? I suggest that you be direct with the young lady instead of trying to communicate feelings through menus. Mark ignored the advice and spent the next 3 days researching restaurants. Too formal seemed pretentious. Too casual seemed uninterested. Too romantic seemed desperate. He was desperate, but he did not need to announce it. In the end, he chose a discreet Italian place in Back Bay. Excellent food, welcoming atmosphere, lighting that flattered everyone. The invitation was made after one of Liam's classes. Scarlett, I would like to invite you to dinner, to celebrate Liam's progress. She hesitated for a second. Just the two of us? Just the two of us, as a thank you for everything you have done. Mark, you do not need to. I know I do not need to. I want to. Scarlett observed him for a moment. That look that seemed to see through all the layers of pretense and get straight to the truth. All right, she said finally. Does Friday work for you? Mark almost fainted from relief. Perfect. I will pick you up at 7. I will meet you there. It is more practical. Of course. More practical. Makes sense. It made no sense at all for his romantic plans, but Mark was not in a position to negotiate. Friday arrived with the speed of a turtle crossing molasses. Mark changed clothes 4 times. Sir, the restaurant is going to close before you decide, Rosa commented from the doorway. The blue blazer or the gray one? Whichever is closest. Rosa, this is important. I know, sir. That is why I'm saying, stop thinking so much and just go. He arrived at the restaurant 20 minutes early, sat down, stood up, sat down again, straightened the silverware, checked his phone, straightened the silverware again. The waiter approached. Would you like to order a drink while you wait, sir? Water. No, wine. No, water. Actually, both. The waiter raised an eyebrow. Water and wine, sir? It is a celebration, but I also want to keep a clear head. But I also want to seem relaxed. I will bring both, sir. Scarlett arrived punctually at 7, and Mark forgot how to breathe. She wore a dark green dress that matched her eyes, hair down, discreet earrings, a smile that lit up the entire restaurant. Sorry I'm late, she said, sitting down. You were right on time. Then sorry for the punctuality. It looks like you have been waiting for a while. Mark looked at the table. The water was half empty, the wine untouched, the silverware reorganized 3 times. I arrived a little early. A little? Maybe 20 minutes. Anxious? I prefer the term eager. Scarlett laughed. You and your preference for terms. The conversation flowed more easily than Mark expected. They talked about Boston, about the differences between the East Coast and Chicago, about how Liam was flourishing at school. He became friends with Theo, Scarlett shared. The two of them are inseparable now. Last week they invented a secret language mixing French with made-up words. Is that good or bad? It is creativity, and creativity is always good. Mark smiled. You really love what you do. I do. Every child is a different universe. Discovering how to access that universe is magical. You discovered how to access Liam's. Liam let me in. That is the difference. You cannot force open a door that the child does not want to open. They ordered food. Rigatoni for her, risotto for him, more wine. The soft lighting created an atmosphere that Mark wanted to believe was romantic. "Scarlett," he said after the waiter walked away. "Yes? I have been thinking a lot. About us." She set her fork down gently. "Us? About what could have been, and about what still can be." Scarlett sighed softly. It was not a sigh of irritation, it was something gentler, sadder. "Mark? Let me finish, please." She nodded. "I made the biggest mistake of my life 10 years ago. I let you go out of cowardice. I chose my family's approval instead of fighting for what I felt. And there's not a day that goes by that I do not regret it. I know, but I have changed. You have seen it. With Liam, with the way I face life now. I am no longer that boy who lets others decide for him. I see that, and I am happy for you. So why can we not try again? Start from zero?" Scarlett reached for his hand on the table. The touch was soft, almost maternal. "Because there is no zero, Mark. There is history. And our history has already been written. Stories can be rewritten. Some can, others are complete the way they are." Mark felt his chest tighten. "You are rejecting me. I am being honest, which is different. Explain it to me, because I do not understand." Scarlett withdrew her hand gently. The Mark from 10 years ago and the Scarlett from 10 years ago were two pieces that could have fit together. But time did not stop. We changed, we grew, we became different people. And these different people cannot fit together? Not in the same way. The puzzle is different now. Mark swallowed hard. "So there is no chance at all?" Scarlett smiled. A sweet smile, without pity, without superiority. "There is a chance for us to be what we are now. Two people who respect each other, who share the care for an incredible child, who maybe can be friends." "Friends? Is that too little for you?" Mark was silent for a moment. "It is different from what I wanted." "I know, and I am sorry for that." "Do not be. You are being you. Honest, kind, impossible to hate." Scarlett laughed softly. "Impossible to hate is the best compliment I have ever received. It is the truth." They finished dinner in a comfortable silence. It was not awkward, it was just real. At the restaurant exit, Mark walked her to her car. Scarlett said, "And for the conversation. Thank you for being honest." "Always." She opened the car door, but stopped. "Mark?" "Yes?" "The man you have become is a good man. Liam is lucky to have you as a father. And I am lucky you came into our lives." She smiled one last time and got in the car. Mark stood on the sidewalk, watching the taillights disappear into the Boston night. He had not gotten what he wanted, but he had not lost everything either. He had clarity, and clarity sometimes was the first step toward moving on. What he did not know was that, inside that car, Scarlett was driving home. A home where Victor was waiting for her with dinner ready and a question that would change everything. "How did it go?" he asked when she came in. "I was honest with him." "And how did he react?" "Better than I expected." Victor hugged her. "You did the right thing. I know, but it still hurts a little." "Hurting means you care, and caring is never wrong." Scarlett rested her head on his shoulder. "Is he going to be okay?" "Eventually, yes." "How do you know?" Victor smiled. "Because you came into his life, and no one leaves your orbit without becoming a better person." At the Sterling mansion, Mark entered in silence. Rosa was waiting for him in the kitchen. "So, sir?" She said, "No. I am sorry. Do not be." She said no in the kindest possible way, almost made it seem like a gift. Rosa nodded slowly. "And now?" Mark looked at the stairs leading to Liam's room. "Now I focus on what really matters." But as he climbed, a doubt persisted. Scarlett had talked about the puzzle being different now. What exactly did that mean? And why did she seem so certain there was no room for him? The answer would come sooner than he imagined. 2 weeks after the dinner, Mark Sterling woke up at peace. It was not a peace that arrived suddenly. It was built little by little, night after night, as he processed every word Scarlett had said in that Italian restaurant. The puzzle is different now. She was right, and for the first time in months, Mark could accept that without feeling like the world was crumbling. "You seem different today, sir," Rosa observed during breakfast. "Different how?" "Less desperate." "Thank you, Rosa, always so kind with words." "I am honest, sir, that is different." Mark smiled. "I decided to move on. Move on for real or move on until the next opportunity to chase after her? For real. Rosa studied him for a moment. What happened? I finally heard what she was saying. Not what I wanted to hear, what she was really saying. And what was that? That some stories are complete the way they are, and that trying to rewrite them is disrespecting what they meant. Rosa nodded slowly. That is very mature, Mr. Mark. I know. I am impressed with myself, too. Do not overdo it. Liam came running down the stairs, still in his pajamas, with an energy that seemed impossible for 7 in the morning. Daddy! Today is the day. I know, son, the presentation. I am going to sing in French, in front of everyone. And are you nervous? Liam thought for a second. A little. But Scarlett said that nervous is just excitement that does not know where to go. Mark laughed. She is wise. She is the best. Yes, Mark thought. She really is. Elite Linguistic Consulting was transformed for the end-of-semester event. Colorful flags decorated the entrance. A red carpet, which Mark suspected was rented, guided guests to the auditorium. Uniformed staff distributed programs printed on high-quality paper. This looks like the Oscars of language schools, Mark murmured to himself. It is even more competitive. A voice beside him responded. He turned around. Catherine, the blonde mother he had met on Liam's first day of class, was smiling with a glass of lemonade in her hand. The parents here take these presentations more seriously than board meetings, she continued. Last semester, a mother hired a vocal coach for her 7-year-old daughter. The girl was presenting a song about colors in Spanish. A vocal coach for a song about colors? Apparently, the pronunciation of Amarillo was not sufficiently Castilian. Mark blinked. That is, insane? Exaggerated? Completely disproportionate? I was going to say intense. You are very polite. Catherine took a sip of lemonade. Your son is in the musical presentation, right? Liam, he's going to sing something in French. Sophie, too. They are in the same group. They rehearsed together for weeks. I did not know it was a group. Oh, you are going to love it. 8 children singing Frère Jacques with choreography. It is chaotic and adorable at the same time. Mark looked around the lobby, observing the mix of parents, business people, and socialites. Is the school always this busy? Catherine laughed. This is nothing. You should see when there is a corporate event. Corporate event? Miss Morrison also offers translation services for companies. I hired her team to translate contracts with European and Asian distributors. Mark raised his eyebrows, genuinely interested. You work with exports? I have a cosmetics factory and several commercial representation companies. We export to 15 countries. Catherine took another sip of lemonade. Without Miss Morrison's team, I would be completely lost. Mark remembered the first day. Scarlett on the phone, speaking flawless French about translated documents. Mr. Laurent, the contract in German. I know, he said. She really is impressive. Fantastic, Catherine added. Very talented. Besides having a company that does translations, she also owns this elite language school. Have you known her for a long time? We actually met 10 years ago, but we reconnected recently. The day I came here for the first time, she was finalizing a translation with a French businessman. Mr. Laurent, probably. He is a longtime client. Catherine tilted her head. Miss Morrison built an empire. Language school, translations for multinational corporations, linguistic consulting for diplomats. All of that in less than 10 years. It is inspiring. Mark felt a strange pride. The waitress from Chicago who dreamed of hearing real French now commanded an empire that transformed lives. She did not need him. She never did. And that, somehow, was comforting. And you? Mark asked. How did you get started in cosmetics? Catherine smiled, but there was something in her look. I started my company in a garage, Mr. Sterling, after a divorce that left me with a small daughter and an almost empty bank account. Today I have a factory, 6 representation companies, and export to 3 continents. She raised her lemonade like a toast. So yes, I recognize a warrior when I see one. Mark nodded, impressed. And Miss Morrison is a warrior? Miss Morrison is a general. She not only won her own battle, she is helping other people win theirs too. Catherine pointed to the auditorium. Every child in there is proof of that. That is a beautiful way to see it. It is the truth. Catherine looked at her watch. Well, I need to find my seat. 3rd row near the aisle. Sophie gets nervous if she does not see me waving. It was a pleasure talking with you. Likewise, Mr. Sterling. And prepare the tissues. These presentations always make me cry. Mark found his seat in the 5th row. Next to him, an empty seat he had reserved for Rosa. You did not want to come? He had asked earlier. Sir, I have worked for this family for 32 years. I saw you stutter in a Christmas presentation when you were 8 years old. I deserve to see Liam shine. She arrived 5 minutes before the start, wearing a dress Mark had never seen. Rosa, you look elegant. I know how to dress, sir. You just never paid attention. The lights dimmed, and Scarlett took the stage. She wore a dark green dress that matched the decorated setting perfectly. Her smile was warm, professional, absolutely charming. Mark watched her without the pain he used to feel. There was only admiration now. And gratitude. Good evening, everyone, Scarlett began. Welcome to the end of semester ceremony at Elite Linguistic Consulting. Polite applause filled the auditorium. Tonight is special for many reasons. You will witness the result of months of work, dedication, and above all, courage. Every child on this stage has overcome unique challenges. Each one has found their voice in a different way, and each one deserves our celebration. She paused, her eyes scanning the audience. But before the presentations, I want to share something. Many of you ask me what the secret of our method is. The answer is simple. There is no secret. There is only the fundamental belief that every child has a voice. Sometimes that voice is hidden. Sometimes it is scared. Sometimes it needs a different path to find its way out. Our job is not to create voices. It is to help the voices that already exist find their way out. Mark felt his eyes sting. Rosa, beside him, discreetly handed him a tissue. You are going to need it, she whispered. How do you know? 32 years, sir. The presentations began. First, the youngest students, children of 5 and 6, singing simple songs in Spanish, Italian, German. Some forgot the lyrics. Others waved to their parents in the middle of the song. One girl decided it was more interesting to make faces at the camera than to sing. The audience laughed and applauded with affection. Then came the intermediate students. The songs were more complex, the choreography more elaborate. A group of boys presented a version of a popular American song translated into Mandarin that earned a standing ovation. And then it was time for Liam's group. 8 children entered the stage. Liam was in the center, next to Sophie and his friend Theo. They wore French berets and red scarves around their necks. The image was adorable to the point of being almost illegal. The music began. Frère Jacques, in an expanded version, with additional verses that the children had helped create. Liam sang with a clear and firm voice, without hesitation, without fear. His eyes sparkled under the stage lights. Mark did not try to hold back the tears. Beside him, Rosa was also crying silently. He looks beautiful, she whispered. He is perfect. When the song ended, the auditorium exploded in applause. Liam smiled and waved at his father, completely breaking the presentation protocol. Mark waved back, not caring who was watching. After the musical presentations, Scarlett returned to the stage for the medal ceremony. Every student who completed the semester will receive a recognition medal, she explained. Not for being the best, not for surpassing others, but for surpassing themselves, because that is the only competition that really matters. One by one, the names were called. When Liam Sterling echoed through the auditorium, Mark felt his heart stop. Liam walked up to the stage with confident steps. Scarlett placed the medal around his neck and bent down to say something only the two of them could hear. Liam nodded, smiling. Then, to everyone's surprise, he approached the microphone. I wanted to say something, he announced, his voice firm. The auditorium fell silent. 6 months ago, I did not speak. Not a single word. I thought words were dangerous, that if I spoke, bad things would happen. Mark felt his throat close. But Scarlett showed me that words are not dangerous, they are gifts. And now, I want to give a gift back. He looked directly at his father in the audience. Thank you, Daddy, for not giving up on me. I love you. Mark could not hold back. The tears flowed freely as he tried to breathe. Rosa held his hand. Breathe, sir. I am trying. Try harder. Liam came down from the stage and ran to his father. Mark hugged him with a strength that was probably not recommended for 7-year-old children. I love you too, son, more than anything. The ceremony ended with applause and mingling. Parents greeted teachers. Children ran around the lobby. Natural juices and flavored water circulated on trays. Catherine approached Mark with red eyes. I warned you about the tissues. You were right. I always am. Ask my daughter. She hates it. Mark laughed. A genuine laugh, light, without the weight he had been carrying for months. In the corner of the lobby, Mark saw Scarlett taking a quick call. By her professional expression and contained gestures, it was probably something work-related. An urgent translation, perhaps. An international client. The woman never stopped, and she built empires while transforming lives. Impressive. When she hung up, Mark approached. Work never stops, does it? Scarlett smiled, putting away her phone. A client in London needs an urgent revision for tomorrow. Nothing my team cannot handle. Catherine told me you saved several export contracts for her. Oh, the cosmetics factory contracts. It was an interesting project, translating sanitary regulations into 7 different languages. Quite challenging. You make it seem easy. Nothing is easy, Mark. Some things are just worth the effort. They looked at each other for a moment. Liam was incredible today, she said. His speech was not planned. It was completely spontaneous. He surprised me too. He surprises everyone. That is his talent. Mark smiled. He learned from the best teacher. He learned from his own heart. I just showed him where the light switch was. They were silent for a moment. Scarlett, I wanted to thank you for everything, not just for Liam, for being honest with me at dinner, for treating me with respect even when I was being insistent. You were not being insistent, you were being human. I was being inconvenient. Maybe a little, she admitted with a smile, but in an adorable way. Adorable as a consolation. Adorable as more than most people manage. Liam appeared running, the medal swinging around his neck. Daddy, Sophie invited me to her birthday party. Can I go, please? When is it? Next month. Then yes, you can. Thank you. He turned to Scarlett. And next semester we're going to learn Italian, right? Scarlett knelt down to be at his level. You were incredible today, Liam. I am so proud of you. Thank you. I cannot wait for the next semester. Neither can I. We are going to learn Italian. What do you think? Liam's eyes sparkled. Italian? Like pizza and gelato? Scarlett laughed. Like pizza, gelato, and much more. You are going to love it. It is going to be awesome. They hugged, and Mark watched the scene with a full heart. Happy holidays, Liam, Scarlett said, and keep practicing your French. You got it. The guests began to disperse. The late afternoon sun came through the lobby windows, painting everything in golden tones. Mark went to get Liam to leave. At the school exit, under the Boston sunset, they found Scarlett saying goodbye to other parents. Scarlett? Liam waved. Until next semester. Until then, champion. Mark waved too. A simple gesture of farewell. Scarlett returned it with a warm smile. Happy holidays, Mark. Happy holidays, Scarlett. They looked at each other for a moment. There was no more tension. There was no more expectation. Just 2 people who had found their places in the world. An elegant car parked in front of the school. Mark watched, not understanding at first. A tall man, with gentle eyes and a calm smile, got out of the driver's side. He walked to where Scarlett was, with the quiet confidence of someone who belonged in that moment, who belonged in that place, who belonged to that woman. Hi, love, he said to Scarlett, kissing her on the forehead with a naturalness that spoke of years of intimacy. And then Mark understood. Everything made sense. The gentle no at dinner, the different puzzle, the unshakable certainty that there was no room for him. It was not about time. It was not about patience. It was about this. Scarlett had already found her place, her home, her destiny, and that destiny had a name. Victor. This is Mark Sterling, Scarlett said, with the light voice of someone introducing a friend. Liam's father. Victor extended his hand to Mark. Nice to meet you. Scarlett told me a lot about Liam's progress. It is an inspiring story. Mark shook his hand, feeling something finally click into place. The last piece of a puzzle he did not know he was putting together wrong. The pleasure is mine, he said, and was surprised to realize it was true. Scarlett changed our lives. She has that effect on people, Victor said, looking at her with an adoration that was impossible to ignore. You should see the pile of thank you cards she keeps at home. From students, from parents, from translation clients. She pretends it is no big deal, but I know she reads them all. Scarlett blushed slightly. Victor? What? It is true. Mark smiled. It was not a forced smile. It was not a smile of defeat. It was a smile of understanding, of acceptance, of peace. It was good to see that she had found someone who truly saw her, who saw beyond the impeccable professional and celebrated the person behind her. She deserved that. She always did. "Happy holidays," Mark said, taking Liam's hand, "and congratulations on the event." "Thank you," Scarlett replied. "And Mark?" He turned around. "Thank you for coming back. Not for me, but for Liam. Sometimes destiny reunites us not to rewrite the past, but to show us that it was worth moving forward." Mark nodded slowly. "I know that now." Scarlett got in the car, Victor closing the door for her with a tenderness that spoke more than words. The car pulled away smoothly. Scarlett waved through the window, her smile lighting up the street. Mark watched the car disappear into the Boston sunset. Beside him, Liam held his hand. "Daddy? Who was that man?" "Someone special to Scarlett, son. Like a boyfriend?" "Something like that, yes." Liam thought for a moment. "That is good. She looked happy. She really did. And you, Daddy? Are you happy?" Mark looked at his son, at those eyes that now sparkled with life, at that voice that had finally found its way out. "I am, son. Very happy." They walked back to the lobby, where Catherine was still organizing Sophie's things. She looked up when she saw Mark approach. "Is everything okay, Mr. Sterling?" Mark sat on the bench next to her, Liam already running to say goodbye to Theo. "Can I ask you something, Catherine?" "Of course." "You said you recognize a warrior when you see one, that you started from zero after a divorce, that you built an empire." "I did." "How did you know you were on the right path, that things were going to work out?" Catherine observed him for a long moment. "I did not know. Nobody knows. We just wake up every day and choose to keep going, choose to believe that the next step is worth it, even without knowing where it will take us." Mark nodded slowly. "And what if the path we imagined is not the path we receive?" Catherine smiled. "Then we learn the greatest lesson of all, Mr. Sterling, which is that destiny is not a place we arrive at, it is the person we become along the way." She pointed at Liam, who was laughing at something Theo had said. "Do you look at that boy and see what I see?" "What do you see?" "A boy who found his voice, a happy boy, a boy who has a father who did not give up." She stood up, adjusting her bag. "That is not defeat, Mr. Sterling. That is victory. It is just that sometimes victory has a different shape than what we imagined." Mark fell silent, processing the words. Catherine called Sophie and said goodbye with a wave. "We will see each other next semester, and who knows, maybe for coffee sometime. Lonely entrepreneurs need company every now and then." She winked and left, Sophie chattering about the presentation. Mark watched the two of them leave. Then he looked at Liam, who was now showing his medal to a school employee, and finally he looked at the door through which Scarlett had left. 10 years ago, he had let that woman go out of cowardice. 10 years later, she had come back into his life, not as a romance, but as an answer. The answer to a question he did not even know he was asking. And the answer was this: some people enter our lives to stay. Others enter to transform us. And the most special ones are those who do both, even if not in the way we expected. Scarlett Morrison was not his romantic destiny. She was the proof that he could change, that it is never too late to be the person we should have been. That love has many forms, and sometimes the most important one is not what happens between two people, but what happens inside ourselves. "Daddy," Liam ran up to him. "Are we going?" Mark smiled and took his son's hand. "Let us go." They walked together toward the car where Gerald was waiting. The driver opened the door with a discreet smile. "Home, sir?" Mark looked at Liam. "What do you think, son? Home or ice cream first?" "Ice cream. Ice cream then, Gerald." "As you wish, sirs." Destiny dealt the cards, but it was Scarlett who played the game. If you were in her place, would you have used that money to grow, or would you have thrown it in his face out of pure pride? And more, do you think she did the right thing, keeping the relationship purely professional? Or should she have given Mark's love a second chance? I want to know your honest opinion here in the comments. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our stories. Sometimes a reunion does not serve to restore the past, but to seal our growth and make room for a new and better version of us. Until the next story from Soulful Love Tales.